My name's Jonathan, and I'm in Golden Ears Provincial Park in Maple Ridge, British Columbia, Canada, just outside of Vancouver, riding my gravel bike down some mountain bike trails. Welcome to this week's GCN Show.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
Coming up this week, the 40 biggest mistakes ever made at the Tour de France.
That don't involve Lance Armstrong.
Ready? The 6 biggest mistakes ever made at the Tour de France.
We've also got a gravel bike backflip, an actual women's Tour de France, new zip wheels, and lots more besides. This week in the world of cycling, we learned that, like British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Pope Francis also chooses rim brakes over disc brakes.
Well, was it his choice or the choice of Giro winner Egan Bernal, who gifted the pontiff a custom-painted Pinarello Dogma along with a pink jersey?
Is the Pope actually...
Catholic?
No. Is the Pope actually allowed to wear a pink jersey, even though he's never won the Giro d'Italia?
Well, that's a good point, actually. In my experience of wearing pink, he will probably choose not to wear it, though, regardless, just because those embarrassing sweat patches.
I'd imagine so, yes. He has got a lot of bikes now, though,
He
hasn't
does, yeah.
Although this one only has Ultegra on that
What?
bike, so maybe he'll choose to ride the one that Sagan gifted him instead.
Well, I know he sold that one, didn't he? Anyway, we also learned this week that Blake has now backflipped Hank's Pinarello Gravel, although into foam, which, to be honest with you, sounds like something that Hank would do for fun as well.
Word is, though, that he will be doing it on dirt this week, so watch this space.
Whoa. Right, now the Tour de France is so nearly upon us, it starts in just a handful of days in fact, that we thought it would be timely to dig back through some of the worst mistakes ever at the race, if nothing else, so that current pros don't have to make them again.
And so we're going to start with the mistake freshest in our minds. So in at number 1, Primož Roglic's helmet choice.
On the verge of victory at the Tour de France, and in his favoured discipline of the time trial, Roglic decided to wear a brand new laser helmet for the very first time in competition. And the rest, as they say, is history.
It is. Whether or not him losing the yellow jersey was down to that helmet or just Tadej Pogačar having otherworldly legs is debatable. But I've got it on good authority that Roglic is now refusing to ever wear that helmet again because of the backlash he got for wearing it, even though it is irrefutably faster through wind tunnel testing.
He did look like such a dork, didn't he? So I wouldn't wear it either, Primož. Anyway, mistake number 2, also very fresh in our minds from last year, Julian Alaphilippe taking an illegal feed whilst wearing the yellow jersey, and therefore meaning that he was not wearing the yellow jersey the next day after receiving a time penalty.
A big mistake, but not one that would cost him the overall win at the race, which he wasn't going to achieve anyway. However, the late, great Laurent Fignon made a mistake on the final stage of the 1989 Tour that probably did cost him very dearly. He decided not to use the newfangled aero bars.
Yeah. What good are they? Uh-oh. A decision that would haunt him for years. Greg LeMond famously did use the aero bars and would win by what remains to this day the smallest margin in the race's history, 8 seconds, and on the final day.
Imagine that. An equipment choice that makes the difference between winning and losing the Tour de France, the biggest race in the world. That is bonkers.
Well, a bit like Roglic's helmet. No, in all seriousness, equipment also made the difference between David Miller winning and losing the prologue in 2003. He/his team decided not to use a front derailleur on the flat course, which was all fine, hunky-dory, until he dropped his chain almost within sight of the finish line, which he crossed 0.14 seconds slower than Bradley McGee.
Oof. So stage win and yellow jersey out of the window because they tried to shave a few watts from aerodynamic gains in the days before won by. Still, at least he turned up to that time trial on time. Pedro Delgado, who was the reigning Tour de France champion in 1989, that year that Greg LeMond would end up winning, he went for his warm-up before said prologue, lost track of time, and ended up starting his time trial on the opening day 2 minutes and 40 seconds later than he should have done.
My word. But at least he could continue the following day, because 2 years later, in 1991, Stephen Roach turned up late for a team time trial, by which point the rest of his Tonton Tapis team had set off. So Roach's team time trial turned into an individual time trial. He missed the time cut, and that was the end of his race.
I've never heard of that Tonton Tapis team before, I've got to admit. Now, I know that marginal gains is quite a recent thing, Si, attention to detail and all that. I can't help but think that having a watch couldn't have been that hard in the 80s and 90s.
It does seem bizarre, doesn't it? But there you go. Anyway, moving on. Eduardo Sepulveda got disqualified for the 2015 Tour de France for hitching a ride in a car.
Which does sound like rather a blatant mistake.
It does,
It's not quite as bad as it first sounds. So basically, he was stuck at the side of the road after a mechanical, so with an unrideable bike, and both his team cars were ahead of him on the road. They aren't allowed to drive in the opposite direction to the race, and so another team, AG2R, let him sit on the boot of the car for 100 metres up a hill where his Bretagne-Séché team car was, so that he could then get his spare bike and continue on his way to the finish line, which he did.
Well, yeah, except that is breaking the rules, even if it's only at the back of the race for 100 metres. The commissaires showed no sympathy for the Argentine, who was then thrown off the race.
In hindsight, so what he should have done in that situation was run up the hill like Chris Froome did on Mont Ventoux. That leads us nicely on to our next mistake. A lack of control by the race organisers in terms of the fans that were lining Mont Ventoux back in 2016. That meant that the motorbikes couldn't get through fast enough, which in turn meant that Reggie Porte and Chris Froome crashed into the back of one of them.
Yeah, with the team cars a long way behind, Froome decided to run without his bike, in cleats, until the neutral service vehicle arrived with an ill-fitting bike with the wrong pedals.
Do you know what? Running without a bike is also strictly against the rules. But
Absolutely,
because it was the organisers that made that mistake that day, they decided not to punish Froome, who would eventually go on to win that edition of the Tour de France.
Yeah, and it was a mistake that would also cost Thomas de Gent, because he won the stage that day and nobody remembers it,
You don't, do you? All you remember is
Thomas.
Chris Froome running up Mont Ventoux. Now, our final Tour de France mistake does relate to marginal gains when the term was in its infancy back in 2010. The Team Sky boffins had spent hours poring over detailed weather maps looking to ensure that their team leader, Brad Wiggins, had dry conditions for the opening prologue time trial in Rotterdam.
Yeah, in the end, he set off in what was the only period of rain and so conceded almost a minute over just 9 kilometres, finishing in 74th place.
They weren't the reigning Tour de France champions back then, were they?
Oh, brilliant. Now, you were there, weren't you, that day?
Sort of, yes.
Where did you finish, Dan?
I finished 174th, but less than 30 seconds behind Bradley Wiggins on the day.
Nice. Also in the rain?
Yes,
Well,
I
there
was
we
in the
go.
rain as well.
So Cervelo test team boffins had done their homework too and sent their weaker riders off in the rain.
Oh, yes, I think they probably had. Had it not been for the fact that I rode around Rotterdam in the rain, I reckon I'd probably have got a top 125
Nice,
that
mate.
particular day.
Yeah.
Anyway, as we said before, the reason for us thinking all about this is because the Tour de France starts this coming Saturday.
And we cannot wait!
No.
Yes, we have got live coverage over on GCN Plus of every kilometre of every stage, plus the pre and post race breakaway show with a whole load of different guests. Long highlights, short highlights, all the latest news, interactive quizzes, polls, and much, much more.
In fact, there's a one-stop shop over on the GCN app with all things Tour de France. That part is free to everybody. However, in terms of the live coverage and the breakaway show, there are territory restrictions on the Tour de France. It's the biggest bike race in the world, of course, and there are so many other broadcasters that have got exclusive rights in various parts of the world. But if you're in Europe or the Asia Pacific, except for China, Australia, New Zealand, or Japan, you will be able to join us for that 3 weeks starting on Saturday.
Yeah, and we really hope that you do. It's going to be a hell of a race. And if you haven't already seen it, you should definitely check out our big preview show, which has all the details you could possibly need about the route and the riders. And it's about to be updated with some news just in, isn't it?
It is. Cav is in. Bennett is out. It's time now for GCN Inspiration. 3 prizes on offer for the best 3 photos or videos that inspire us all to ride each week. In third place this week is Too Many Hobbies, who will receive a plant-based cyclist book. Summer has arrived in Phoenix, Arizona. Got to get out early in the morning before it reaches 117 Fahrenheit or 47 degrees centigrade in the afternoon.
Wowee. That's pretty incredible. I don't think it's 47 degrees Fahrenheit here at the moment.
Probably
But,
not.
yeah, anyway, look at that. That's kind of an inspiring photograph because that's a cool looking road, isn't it?
It looks nice and quiet, doesn't it?
Yeah, cool's probably the wrong word, actually, if it's 47 degrees centigrade.
It is,
in the
but you
afternoon.
can't help but say cool, can you? That's why you're called Pigeon.
That's right. Cool. Anyway, there we go. Yeah, a worthy third place, I think, there. Second place this week, winning a maintenance book and a core red t-shirt, is this one from Goalkeeper. Father's Day ride. I fixed up my dad's vintage 80s road bike for Father's Day here in Canada.
Oh, wow.
After him riding a mountain bike for over 20 years, I took him for a road ride last night and he loved it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It is cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
What a great Father's Day gift. Did you get anything?
Did I get anything? I did, yeah. I got, this is really, really nerdy. I got an enormous Technic Lego Land Rover. Which,
nice.
Yeah, adult Lego. Who knew it was a thing? So,
I'd quite like one of those.
Honestly, it looks cool. Except I woke up this morning to find that my son was downstairs since 5:30 doing it without me, which is a bit miffed about.
Yeah, probably getting it all wrong.
Yeah, I pulled it all apart. So you can scrap that.
I got 15 Stellars.
Did you?
Yeah. Anyway, first prize this week is an Epic Climbs Col de Galibier t-shirt, a Core Black sweatshirt, and the Endurance book. And the winner of those prestigious prizes is Yuri Makalis, exploring gravel roads of the Odessa region in the southern part of the Ukraine during the Bodges gravel camp organised by the local cycling club Hoods and Drops. Nice. Unknown destinations, unexpected paths, all in life is a journey. And wow, good that you had a drone pilot with you, because that is some shot you've captured there.
That is incredible, isn't it? It looks quite flat there.
Looks ideal.
It does, yeah. That's your kind of gravel riding, isn't it? Fantastic. Yeah. No, that looks super cool. Thank you so much.
I like that one a lot. Don't forget to get involved, ready for next week's show. You know the drill, but I'll remind you anyway. All you've got to do is upload your best inspirational cycling photos or videos to the GCN app. We'll pick our favourite 3 next week.
It's now time for cycling shorts.
Cycling shorts now, and we're going to start with the exciting news that a women's Tour de France will be happening in 2022, and it's a proper 8-day stage race, and it will follow on immediately after the men's finishes, which sounds fantastic.
And its name? Well, it's called the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift.
Avec Zwift.
Because yes, the virtual cycling platform has agreed a 4-year partnership with the race organisation ASO to bring the race to fruition, which is also fantastic news. Looking forward to hearing more about the route, but we will have to wait until October for that. But we do know, as you said, Sally, that it starts on the final day of the men's race in Paris.
Yeah. Now, fresh from saying a couple of weeks ago that Europe's first carbon bike frame factory had just opened in Portugal, 3T announced that their factory in Italy will now also be making some of their own frames too.
It will, but rather than just copy production techniques that they're already using in the factories that they're using over in Asia, they have decided to invest in filament winding.
Which is a little bit like carbon fibre knitting.
Is it? And dry fibre plus resin injection. Do you know what that part is? Or have you got a wisecrack for it?
No, I haven't.
No. Good, didn't think you would do. Anyway, what it will do is create a lighter and a stronger frame, and it's going to be called the Exploro Racemax Italia. Although initially, at least, it will have a very premium price tag.
It will, a little bit on top, yeah. So it's not quite the same as the Portugal factory, which is, to our knowledge, mass producing and no additional cost, but still, very cool to see new techniques being used.
It is, yes. Sticking with bikes, the World Economic Forum reported that the boom in cycling has continued in the US for the first quarter of this year. So it's up 35% on pre-pandemic levels, which had remained static for quite a long time, I think.
Yeah, it is fantastic to see, isn't it? More people on bikes is great news. So do remember that when you're trying to buy a new chain and you're told there's now a 10-month waiting list for one.
Yeah, not just chains, is it?
No.
There's a long waiting list for a lot of different components.
Yeah.
But yes, the global bike shortage is real, but it's definitely not that bad. There are loads of new bikes and spare parts still out there. So I guess you've got to just shop around, have you?
Yes, it takes a while on Google these days, I find, but yeah, do that. Anyway, speaking of new bike parts, Zip have launched 3 new wheel sets today. So they've got the 404 Firecrest, the 858 NSW, and the 454 NSW. The 404s have shed 370 grams in weight, which is amazing, yeah, and are quicker on the road than the previous 404s by 4 watts at 40k an hour. Apparently it's not just down to aerodynamics, but also vibration, damping and rolling resistance too. But it's the 454 NSWs that are frankly astonishing 10 watts faster.
You'll know them as the wavy ones,
yes,
varying between 53 and 58 millimeters of depth, but weighing just 1,358 grams for the pair, which is bonkers.
Yeah.
However, it's the carbon fiber layout that means that apparently they roll so much faster than before.
Apparently so, yeah. We've got a video on the new 404 Firecrest coming at the end of the week, by the way, so stay tuned to that.
Moving on, we were sad to read last week that French pro cyclist Kevin Retzer has announced his retirement, which will happen at the end of 2021. The 33-year-old is one of the few black cyclists in the pro peloton. He's carved out a really solid career since 2010, riding for a succession of the different major French squads.
Yeah, now finally, our thoughts go out to the cycling community in Arizona this week after a horrific incident at the weekend during the Bike the Bluff race, which was serving this year as the state championships.
Horrific is an understatement, isn't it? So apparently during one of the Masters races, a driver in a pickup truck allegedly drove into the bunch, critically injuring 6 riders and injuring a lot more. Now, the driver was then pursued by police and ultimately shot before being arrested.
Yeah, so we'd just like to say we hope all of the victims have a quick and full recovery from that.
Hack / Bodge of the week now. We'll start with a hack from Mechanic Dan.
Is that you?
Well, you might think it's me when you see what the hack is. Look, an SPD bottle opener. Shown here is something I just found out. Shimano SPD pedals are the perfect size tool to use as a bottle opener.
Nice.
As are road cleats, aren't they?
They are. Although it's actually, I did this the other day and I messed it up because I think I went for my cleat as opposed to my pedal. So it took a while. I did end up spilling a bit of beer. The thing is that you'd never be without a bottle opener, would you? So this is just a bit like...
No, always got one handy.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's just a bit like, meh, whatever.
Well, I'd still go hack.
Yeah, no, I'd say hack.
Short.
That is good, yeah.
Yeah. Well, 76% of app users went with hack for that one as well.
Nice. Right, we've got this one in from Sissy C. Indy. Handlebar extensions.
Sissy Cindy, I think that is.
Yep, that would make sense. Yep. Handlebar extensions using vice grips.
Oh my word.
Yes, are they
tennis balls?
Tennis balls on the end.
For extra comfort.
Wowee. Yeah. Surely bar ends are cheaper than vice grips.
But maybe there are stock shortages at the moment. I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know what the reasons for any part of this bodge are, but that is what I'm deeming it, a complete bodge. Yeah, bodge, 92% of people went with bodge for that one.
Funny that.
Rachel Gorham sent this in. Improvised panniers, cat litter buckets have 1 million uses. I'm sure I'd agree with that opening statement. But anyway, including a second life as watertight panniers. Seen just outside the US Bicycling Hall of Fame in Davis, California.
Well, I'd say there's 2 uses then, isn't it? Cat litter bucket and also panniers. But they do look good, actually. Gotta say, that's a nice, I'd say that's a hack from me.
They do look like they would serve the purpose pretty well, don't they? So I will... cat litter as storage? I'll go with hack.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's colour coordinated.
Reluctantly.
Yeah,
I'll give them that. All right, hack. 58% went with hack.
Nice.
Particular hack.
There you go, bit of recycling. Now, B.A. Andrews 75 suggested inner tube bar tape. There we go. Build the bike back up late at night. Needed to race the next morning, and the shop was shut. I didn't have any bar tape. I wondered what I could use, and I saw an old inner tube. And I thought it'd be pretty good as it's grippy and inexpensive. So there we go. And actually, you've done a cracking job.
That is a very neat job.
Wrapping it, yeah.
I'll give you a hack just for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm the same. That's a hack from me.
Well, other people were on the fence side. Narrowly in favour of hack, 52% versus 48%. But yeah, surely just from the wrapping itself, that should be a hack.
Yeah, I bet if you'd fudged the wrap, then it would have just been an overwhelming bodge.
It would have been.
Because it is a bit crap, isn't it, in a tube bar tape?
On a similar subject, Twince Williams recycling bar tape. Ever wonder what to do with your old bar tape? I've discovered it makes a wonderful replacement grip for my old lawnmower handle.
Whoa, check you out. That's nice looking bar tape.
That is also neatly wrapped as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm actually in the market for a new lawnmower at the moment. I hope they're in stock more than bicycle parts.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine they are. I can't imagine more people have got lawns since COVID, whereas more people are cycling now, aren't they?
True.
But you never know. But no, that's good. Or maybe if you get your new lawnmower down, you could style it up with some nice bar tape.
And bar ends.
Yeah, there we go. That's a hack from me, that one. Anyway.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Next up, we've got this one, which I'm not going to lie, has blown my mind. This is sent in by Flo Teela. I think we're going for. bike packing chain cleaner. Check this. While traveling, it's not always easy to keep the drivetrain clean. A lemon is a quick and powerful solution, including for greasy hands. Of course, it's the ultimate citrus degreaser.
I'm going to have to reserve judgment until I test this out myself, I think.
I'm just going full in. I think that's fantastic.
Going for hack.
100% hack. That's amazing.
I'll go on then. I'll go with hack as well. And 3/4 of you went with hack for that one.
Good
How come we've
stuff.
never had that in before?
I don't know.
I mean, it's not blown my mind quite as much as yours, but still.
Well, we've had olive oil for lubing chains, haven't we? But yeah, never have we had.
No. Let us know out there if it works for you.
Absolutely.
Finally this week, Balash Shruboshki.
Sorry.
I think that was about right, wasn't
I
it?
think that was actually. That sounded really good.
Roadside hack, my rear gear cable snapped mid-ride. So the only gear rosters I had available were 5011 or 3411. Neither of those would cut the hilly terrain I was on. I had 12 miles to get back to the car. So I stuck a rock in the rear mech and fixed it with 2 zip ties in order to be able to get in a medium gear for the way back and good to get back to the car.
Not a bad effort there.
They're rather garish zip ties, aren't they?
They are, and they
Not
look
subtle.
enormous as well. That looks like the kind of zip tie that, I don't know, you could probably hang something off a ceiling, I guess. that's industrial, isn't it? But no, I like that. Any roadside hack where you don't get stuck in your 11.
Even with zip ties?
Well, because this is temporary, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
true.
I'm sure that Ballas is going to take those off now he's got home and replace.
All right, I'll go with hack as well then.
Yeah.
And the final one, 65% hack, 35% bodge.
Yeah. No, we're not leaving it there for zip ties this week.
Oh, are we not?
No. So I had a message on Twitter from Bradders. So and he sent me a link to ziptie.com/creative zip ties and
Blimey.
have a look at this, particularly this outfit, Dan, which I thought.
Oh my word.
Yeah, I thought I might have a go at that.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Particularly the hat.
Well, I think you should go for the blouse as well.
Well, yeah. What I want to know is why he stopped short of doing the zip tie pants. But
Well, I presume it could be quite painful
well, that is true.
at that point.
But,
zip tie facing in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Anyway, if any of you out there have experimented with zip tie creatives on this level, please do share the results with us. And
Upload them to the app. We'll get voting for next week. Incidentally, there are lots of hacks and bodges over on the GCN app for you to vote on, many of which we'll be going through next week. But we'd love for you to submit yours as well. All you've got to do is upload them to the app, and they might well make it onto a future show.
it's time now for Caption Competition, that part of the show where you get a chance to get your hands on a coveted GCN Elite water bottle. All you got to do is put a witty caption to a photo we're about to give you in the comment section down below. Starting, as always, though, with the results from last week, where we gave you this photo of Caleb Ewan and Remco Evenepoel.
And the winner is... Do you have a drum roll?
Yep.
That's what we stopped doing then.
Yep.
The winner is Damien Mitchell. He put caption, "No more beer for me. I can't handle bars."
Hey!
Very good, Damien. Send us your address with a message on Facebook. We'll get the bottle out to you. You can choose which colour you would like, apparently.
Is that right?
Apparently so.
Wow. Never knew that.
Really gone up in the world the last couple of months.
Yeah.
This week's photo comes from the Belgian National Time Trial Championships. I'm going to get you started.
Go on.
30 years on, Stephen Roach still on quest to find Tour de France ramp.
That, mate, is really good.
Cheers.
That, like, genuinely, that's one of your best. I think that. There we go. If you can beat that, and I'm not sure you can, stick your caption in the comment section down below. And if you win, you'll be able to choose the colour of GCN bottle that you get.
I think maybe even the size as well. No, I probably shouldn't go that far.
No, I was going to say, I can't imagine
Don't have that on good authority. Definitely colour. Coming up, the best comments from the last 7 days worth of videos on GCN before we tell you what's coming up. Starting with this underneath the Bid for Glory video, eBay challenge. HeopX wrote, "Achievement unlocked. Ollie got 5th in a race of 4 bikes."
That was brilliant. I like that very much. And then sticking with Ollie, WG said, "I'm shocked. that nobody mentioned Ollie and his brilliant storage solution for his melons. To which Kimberly Sparkles replied they were cabbages. Melons that size require really expensive undergarments to stay that high on the chest. Additionally, there was a lot of physical activity for that size of melon without additional support. So it's no wonder they struggled up the hill. So there we go, I didn't know that.
No?
Carrying melons.
Learn something new every day.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the Ollie theme continues on the tandem versus one rider. Declan Foy put, I clicked on this video faster than Ollie got dropped. 577 likes on that at the last count.
Yeah.
Whilst Mr. T wrote, finally found a configuration in which Ollie could not get dropped.
We had to put them in because so many of you gave those things a thumbs up. Like Dan said, 577 likes and 164 likes. So we were forced to include them, weren't we? So sorry, Ollie. And then under the video about time crunch training, Mike Wood asked if I always sleep in my cycling kit when I have a sleepover at Hank's. And no, the answer is I just got up like even earlier to make that coffee. Yeah, and Jeffrey Yuen wondered whether Hank got something for letting me and GCN and Bodges home. Yes, he got sweaty floor.
Very good.
Yeah.
Not the Mike Woods, because there would be an S on the end of it if it was. But just before we tell you what's coming up on GCN, over on GCN Plus, you've got a new documentary coming out this week featuring Mike Woods of the Israel Startup Nation, who we were fortunate enough to follow and go behind the scenes with at Flèche Wallonne and Liège-Bastogne-Liège back in the spring in April. Very interesting it is too.
Yeah.
So check it out if you've got a subscription. If you haven't got a subscription, why not get one? It's available in all GCN Plus territories. Right, on the main channel this week, on Wednesday, it's Strava Hidden Gems. It was supposed to come out last week, wasn't it? Si was waxing lyrical about all the things he'd learned that you could do on Strava that he didn't already know about. We had to delay it slightly, but it will be out tomorrow if you're watching this on the day it comes out. Thursday is, of course, the tech show, and on Friday, those exciting new wheels from Zip that Si was talking about earlier. He'll be taking a first look.
Oh yeah, then on Saturday, what's the hardest 100-kilometre ride you could possibly do? Ollie has set himself the challenge of finding out, and it looks absolutely savage. So make sure you check in on that one. And then on Sunday, anything Ollie can do, Hank can do better, it would seem. He's ridden from Land's End to John O'Groats with Mark Beaumont doing a relay, which was utterly bonkers, and we have the video of that attempt coming out on Sunday, so do make sure you check it out.
Only Hank would say yes to a request from Mark Beaumont to do an ultra-endurance relay, wouldn't he?
Oh, I can't imagine anything worse. Like, honestly, incredible. My hat is doffed to both of those guys.
Yeah.
And all the support crew, because that would also be grim. Wouldn't it, really?
It probably would do, yeah.
Yes, it would. Right, and then one last shout out, actually. The other GCN Plus documentary this week is with the amazing Emily Chappell, herself an ultra endurance rider, as she attempts to build a bamboo bike and find out whether they're actually any good. So definitely check that one out. It's very cool, very worth a watch.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all for this week's GCN show. I hope you've enjoyed it and all the mistakes that riders have made over the years at the Tour de France. And from next year, as I mentioned, we'll be able to start adding some female mistakes to that list with the Women's Tour de France. But they probably won't make any mistakes, so it could be quite a few years before they're added.